This discussion is on something that I call the comparison trap. Basically, the trap is that a lot of the time, especially with adolescents, but honestly with adults too, people don't just compare their skills or their situation, their belongings, worldly items. They compare worth. And that's where comparison becomes poisonous. So here's how this episode's going to lay out in plain language. Comparison can teach you skills, but it becomes poison when you use it as a worth scoreboard because you never see other people's hidden stats. So why comparison happens? It's not necessarily bad. It's not because you're weak or insecure or something like that. Comparison is basically built into humans. There's a classic psychology idea by a guy named Festinger. It's called social comparison theory. The basic idea is people have a natural drive to evaluate themselves or figure out how good they are in comparison to other people. And we do compare ourselves to other people, like our opinions, our abilities, how we're going. We check ourselves against the social world, and we tend to use other people as a way of staying sane. So if most people think similarly to you, then there's a fair chance that you're thinking in a way which is somewhat normal. It doesn't mean people have to be the same, and it doesn't mean if that you're thinking differently to somebody else that there's something weird about you. We just use the majority of other people as a way to say, are we on the right track? Are we headed in the right direction? Is this what I would expect for me to be doing at this age or at this stage of my life? So if you compare with people, that doesn't mean that you're broken. It means you're just human. The issue isn't do you compare? The issue is what do you turn the comparison into? So there's a couple types of comparison. There's plenty of different ways to compare, but I'm going to break this down nice and simple to two main types: skill versus worth. Mode 1 is the skill comparison. This is actually pretty helpful. Generally, it's where you see someone doing something better than you and go, okay, what are they doing that I'm not doing? What can I learn from that? What's the process? This is something that if you're playing a new game, you jump onto YouTube and you look at a tutorial, or you watch pros play the same game. Sometimes when you're watching pros play, it can be a bit too confusing. So you watch people that are doing beginner guides. I've done this many times. Started playing World of Warcraft. Don't know how to play a druid, or don't know how to play a healer. I'll go on to Wowhead, or I'll go onto YouTube and I will search up beginner druid guide, and I'll watch somebody play the character while explaining what they're doing. Watching basketball, I'll watch players play basketball before I go to play basketball because it puts me in a better headspace where I'm used to seeing higher performers than myself playing. That's basically comparison as information. The second mode of comparison we're going to talk about is worth comparison. And this is where comparison gets poisonous. That's where you see someone and instead of what can I learn, it becomes, what does this say about me? Well, does this mean I'm less than them? Am I not enough? It's the comparison to go, rather than what is that person doing that I'm not doing? It's like, what does that person have inherently that I lack, that I cannot get? And that immediately puts them above you in some way. That's comparison as a verdict. And the reason it hurts so much is because it's pretending to be a fair scoreboard when it's not a fair scoreboard, because you don't see their hidden stats. What you're seeing is the representation of them the way they want you to see them. Now, I would do a lot of work with students at a high school. And one of the things I explain to them is this. When we compare ourselves to others, we often do it upwards. We choose factors about them that seem better, and then we measure ourselves against that. And at the same time, this is just being honest, when we're feeling good about something or we want to inflate our confidence, we then compare downwards. So it can be self-serving in both directions. But generally when someone is struggling with their self-worth, it's the upward comparison that really dominates their thoughts. And research basically backs that structure. Upward and downward comparisons can have different effects. Upward can hit your self-evaluation and self-esteem harder, and downward can be used as self-enhancement. So again, this is not you're stupid for comparing. This is your brain is running a normal program, and it's just running it in a way that's hurting you. So let's look at, say, the highlight reel problem. This is a modern problem. A lot of your comparison targets aren't even real life. They're highlight reels. Whether that's social media or a popular kid at school or a celebrity or some influencer or a mate who seems like they're always winning, you're not comparing your whole life to their whole life. Take Bluey, for example. As a parent, Bluey runs for, I think it's between 5 and 15 minutes. It's not a very long show. And in that show, those parents act awesome. And a lot of people were saying that, well, Bluey makes parents feel bad at parenting. Thing is that that's a 5-minute capture of a really good time of parenting. And honestly, a 5-minute run of great parenting happens quite often. What that doesn't capture is all of the other stuff in between those episodes that occurs. So you're not comparing your whole life to their whole life. You're comparing your behind the scenes to their best angles. And then you're acting surprised that the scoreboard looks unfair. That's not truth. That's just missing data, and a lot of missing data. In psychology, this online comparison thing's a massive deal. Systematic reviews, meta-analyses, if you know what those are, have found that higher online social comparison tendencies are associated with worse body image and eating disorder-related outcomes. Even broader meta-analysis find a positive relationship between social media use and body image disturbance. That means that when you're looking at people who look better than you online, chances are you're going to feel worse about your own body as a result. Working in schools, especially with young females between year 7 and year 10, most of them have some form of body image problem and they do not feel worth it. Even some of the most athletic still find that there is body image issues. So if you feel worse after scrolling, that's not random. There's a process there. Now, this is the part I really emphasize with students. You don't know what character role somebody's working with. Life basically gives you a random role with your character. And most of the time, what you see is not necessarily the whole picture. You might see some aspects, you don't know the full build. Some people are living in a home where things are stable. Capable parents, safe environment, money, transport, predictable routines. And some people are not. Some people have drug use in their family. Some have abuse. Some have chaos. Some have a home that's got mold in the walls that affects their health and they don't even realize it. Some have no transport. Some have limited access to healthy food. Some are basically playing on hard mode and you'd never know because they don't wear it on their character model. Because what often happens is if somebody does wear it on their character model, it negatively impacts them further. So people learn to cover that stuff. And the point is not to turn misery into a competition. The point is this: if you're judging your worth by comparing to somebody else, you're doing that without knowing the difficulty setting that they spawned into. So the scoreboard is broken. Now, here's an exercise that I use. It works with celebrities, sports figures, popular kids, people who seem to be doing better in life than you. Anywhere, any target that you could come up with where the comparison feels really intense. And I want you to understand what we're doing here. We're not talking them down. We're doing variable detection. We're finding the hidden stats that make the comparison unfair. So I'll say, okay, you've picked this person, celebrity, influencer, popular figure. Let's do some questions. Where were they born? What kind of opportunities did they have access to early? Who was around them? Mentors, coaches, a family with stability? How long have they been practicing the thing that you're comparing yourself on? This is a great one for people who compare themselves to sports stars. The sports stars have probably been doing this their whole life. I'm working with students who are between 12 and 17. Not quite the same. What resources were involved? Time, money, training, equipment, networks. Networks blew my mind how much it really does matter who you know and how much further that puts you ahead. Think of it as an heirloom system. I play World of Warcraft. If I have a character that's already max level that I've done a lot of work on, I can buy items. So when I create a new character, that character has the best possible gear that it could have with the quickest leveling experience boost that you could get. And the only reason why I have it is because I've already played another character. That type of thing happens in real life. And it's not fair, but at the same time, it's earned in a way. And it's not earned by the recipient. It's earned by the person who's put that in place. It's a really, really hard one. And this is why I'm trying to say we're not talking people down. Because if you're born into a rich family, you didn't choose that. And it would be really unwise not to leverage it as much as you could because there's people out there who don't have that wish they did. So it's best to still use that to the best of your ability. But at the same time, it is something that was put in place and that was worked for by another member of that family, most likely at some point. So I don't want to say that it's not just fair. It's very complex. Let's consider some more things. Are their parents together? Were they supported? Were they safe? What did they give up to get to be a celebrity? I tell you what, some celebrity actors that were kids gave up their childhood because their parents wanted them to be a celebrity actor. And listen, it pays off when they're adults, but they didn't get to have a childhood the same way that most people do. Just an example. What do you not see behind the scenes? And usually students don't know the answers, which is the whole point, because what you're feeling when you compare to is certainty. They're better, so I'm worse. And variable detection turns certainty into reality. I don't actually know the full build. That one shift alone reduces how poisonous it feels. Now, we've got to get onto body image because it's probably the most common place that this shows up. And I'll say it carefully. Body image worry is extremely common in teenagers. Butterfly Foundation survey findings have reported around 90% of Australian young people having some level of concern about their body image. Now, this isn't about blaming young people. It's about understanding the system. If your environment is constantly showing you bodies, faces, filters, angles, curated lifestyles, and your brain is wired to compare, then yeah, you're going to feel it. And the research direction is consistent. Online social comparison is linked with increased body image concerns and related problems. So the aim isn't stop caring. The aim is stop using appearance-based comparison as a worth scoreboard because it's running on missing data and unrealistic input. So here's a practical tool. Flip the comparison. This is what I give students and it works. When you catch yourself comparing upward and someone looks better, has more, is more popular, more confident, do this. Step 1. Convert envy into information. Ask, what skill are they modeling? What behavior, what habit, what practice is underneath that result? If it's fitness, okay, what training consistency is underneath it? If it's confidence, what social reps are underneath it? If it's school performance, what study systems are underneath it? Step 2. Add realism with hidden stats. Ask, what support, cost, or context might be hidden? What advantages might be involved? And also, what sacrifices might be involved? This does 2 things. It stops the comparison being a verdict, and it turns it into a plan. Now your brain is using comparison for what it's good for, learning and adapting. So this is a longer video. I'll finish it like this. Comparison is normal. It can teach you skills, but it becomes poison when you use it as a worth scoreboard because you never see the hidden stats. You're not seeing their full build. You're not seeing their backstory, and you're not seeing what they're carrying. Use comparison as a map, not a verdict. And here's the question I want you to sit with. What's one comparison you've been using as a scoreboard that you could flip into a skill? Drop that in the comments. And in the next episode, we'll move into that part that everyone actually wants. Agency and build crafting. How to work with your character, your environment, your supports, and your skill trees.